What happens when a calm, everyday life masks a dark, sinister secret? Prem, an unassuming man living a double life. A devoted husband by day, a ruthless child killer by night, who also has a taste for human meat, sounds like Jeffrey Dahmer. The movie begins with a man named Prem, who is deeply engrossed in watching his favorite show, Sabbanega Crepidi. Prem never misses an episode and tunes in every day at 8 p.m. A few minutes later, his phone rings. It's his wife calling from their village. We learn that while Prem lives in Delhi, his family resides in a small village. Prem's family consists of his wife and a 6-year-old daughter. His wife is also expecting, which makes him even more attentive, checking in on her daily. After speaking to his wife, the film reveals Prem's dark reality. He immediately heads to the rooftop of his building, where he has been holding a young schoolgirl captive. Prem coldly ends her life and dismembers her body into pieces, setting a chilling tone for the rest of the film. The narrative then introduces Ramcharan Pandey, the sub-inspector, SI, of the area. SI Pandey is a family man who loves his young daughter dearly. Every day, he drops her off at school before heading to his police station. Inside the station, we see a bulletin board covered with missing person posters, primarily of children. It's clear that several children have disappeared in the area, and the police have yet to find them. The general consensus is that these kids didn't vanish. They ran away from home voluntarily. One day, a distressed father arrives at the station to report his missing daughter, who has not been seen for several days. Like others before him, he receives little attention from the authorities. SI Pandey, who is not particularly focused on missing persons cases, listens briefly but doesn't investigate further. The father, feeling helpless, pins a picture of his daughter on the station's missing board before leaving. Meanwhile, a group of children is seen playing cricket near an open drain. When the ball accidentally falls into the drain, a boy named Ali goes to retrieve it. As he reaches for the ball, he is horrified to find a skeletal hand in the water. Alarmed, Ali quickly informs the police. While the officers dismiss it as likely belonging to a monkey, SI Pandey has a different suspicion. He believes the hand might have come from outside the area, as no one from the locality has reported such a grisly discovery. In an attempt to settle the matter, Ali is rewarded with 100 Indian rupees for his honesty. From a distance, Prem is watching all of this unfold. It turns out, he lives nearby, and his sinister presence looms over the neighborhood. Later that night, Ali is sent to buy eggs as the house runs out of them. As he heads out, Prem approaches him under the guise of friendliness, offering him chocolates. Using this as a distraction, Prem kidnaps Ali and takes him to his house. In captivity, Ali threatens Prem, saying his father owns a gun and won't let Prem get away with this. But Prem, with a menacing calmness, tells Ali he won't be found. No one would ever locate his remains. The story flashes back to 1983, where we see Prem's childhood. Raised by his uncle, a butcher who ran a meat shop, Prem's life was filled with trauma. His uncle was an abusive man who exploited Prem. One day, as his uncle tries to harm him again, young Prem snaps. Grabbing a nearby dagger, Prem strikes down his uncle in a moment of rage, ending the years of abuse. Returning to the present, Prem continues with his routine life, speaking to his wife as usual. However, their conversation is interrupted by a call from a man named Kotelal, a local compounder. Prem quickly heads out to meet him, and it is revealed that Prem supplies Kotelal with organs harvested from the children he abducts. In exchange, Prem receives large sums of money. The film makes it clear that Kotelal is fully complicit in Prem's gruesome trade. After selling the organs, Prem either buries the remaining bodies or throws them into the drain. He meticulously cleans his house, erasing all evidence of his crimes. Prem also works as a servant for a wealthy man named Bassi. However, Bassi is rarely at home, often traveling for business. The film then shifts to Kurnool, Haryana, where Bassi resides. Bassi, an older man, harbors unsavory thoughts about his young granddaughter. Just as he contemplates inappropriate actions, his wife interrupts him and drags him away, reminding him that it's his birthday. It's evident that while Bassi is an affluent and influential man, he is morally corrupt. His wealth gives him protection, even from law enforcement. The scene shifts again, this time to a small family preparing for the Navratri festival. The young daughter of the family, named Chumki, is eagerly looking forward to the celebration. Meanwhile, the audience learns that Prem has killed countless children, selling their organs and disposing of their bodies. These children remain missing, their parents left in endless despair, as they never discover the fate of their lost loved ones. During the festival, Chumki receives a phone call and steps away to answer it. At the same time, SI Pandey is playing the role of Ravan at the local Ramlila. His entire family is present, enjoying the festivities. Unbeknownst to them, Prem is also at the festival, wearing a Ravan mask to conceal his identity. Compounder is there as well, parked nearby with an ambulance, ready for their next sinister move. SI Pandey thoroughly enjoys playing the role of Raven, reveling in the attention from the crowd. But soon, Chumki's father arrives, pleading with SI Pandey to investigate his daughter's disappearance. He begs Pandy, saying that if it were his daughter, the officer would have taken action. Angered by the accusation, Pandy dismisses him, sending him away in frustration. After the Ramleela performance, S.I. Pandy returns to his family, oblivious to the true horror unfolding in his town. S.I. Pandy asks his wife where their daughter is, and she tells him that their daughter has gone to the restroom with her friends. They begin looking for her, but she's nowhere to be seen. At this moment, we discover that Prem has kidnapped the girl and is sneaking away with her. Just then, S.I. Pandy spots Prem carrying his daughter. Pandy immediately chases after him, but Prem sees him coming and, in a panic, throws the girl aside and flees. Pandy rushes to his daughter, who is unconscious but unharmed. Luckily, Compounder, an ambulance driver, is nearby and comes to help. However, S.I. Pandy isn't ready to give up on Prem. He continues the chase, almost catching up to him when he trips and falls, allowing Prem to escape. Prem, now safely at home, pulls out a hidden cassette tape from his cupboard. It's an old recording of Tirana, which he immediately sends to his wife. Meanwhile, S.I. Pandy reaches the hospital, where his daughter is safe. His wife anxiously asks if he caught the man who kidnapped their daughter, reminding him of the terrifying ordeal. Pandy is deeply troubled, realizing that if his daughter had gone missing like the others, he wouldn't have known what to do. Determined, Pandy decides to take every missing child case seriously from now on. The next day, he summons the father of another missing girl, Chunky. Her father tells Pandy that Chunky disappeared from in front of Bassie's house. Acting on this lead, Pandy heads to Bassie's place, where he finds Prem working as a servant in Bassie's house. Bassie is there too, and Pandy questions him about Chunky. Bassie claims he wasn't around when Chunky disappeared and that his servant, Prem, has already told Pandy everything he knows. At this point, Chunky's father arrives, furious. He hurls insults at Bassie, blaming him for Chunky's disappearance. However, when Bassie starts speaking, Chunky's father falls silent. We then learn a shocking truth. Chunky was a prostitute, and it was her own father who forced her into the trade. Chunky would often visit Bassie's house for business, but Bassie insists he had nothing to do with her disappearance. When S.I. Pandy hears this, he loses his temper and violently beats Chunky's father before throwing him out. Just then, Pandy receives a call from the DGP Jauhar Rastogi. It turns out Bassie had connections and had arranged the call. The DGP instructs Pandy to leave Bassie alone and never return to his house for any investigation. As Pandy leaves Bassie's house, Prem taunts him, asking if he has a daughter. Pandy, already on edge, asks why it matters, and Prem reveals that he, too, has a 6-year-old daughter who lives in the village. Prem expresses his fear for her safety, hinting at the dangers of the world they live in. Frustrated, Pandy returns to his police station, only to find the DGP waiting for him. The DGP reiterates his warning. Pandy is not to investigate Bassie or his household anymore. Bassie is too powerful, and even the DGP is in his pocket. But Pandy is relentless. He meets with his colleague, Constable Puddock, who provides a new lead. Puddock reveals that Chunky used to be dropped off daily by the same rickshaw driver. They have the driver's phone, and when Pandy checks the call history, he sees Prem's name listed. With this new information, Pandy confronts the DGP once more, explaining that Prem is involved in the case. However, the DGP dismisses Pandy's concerns again, ordering him to drop the investigation. But Pandy refuses to give up. A few weeks later, Pandy and Puddock are drinking on the rooftop when Pandy spots Compounder, the ambulance driver. A memory flashes in his mind. On the day his daughter was nearly kidnapped, Compounder's ambulance had already been running, as if he knew something was about to happen. Realizing that Compounder might be involved, Pandy and Puddock discreetly kidnap him and take him to a secluded location for questioning. At first, Compounder denies everything, but under pressure, he finally cracks. Compounder confesses that Prem orchestrated everything. Pandy then contacts Bhupendra, an IPS officer from Alwar, Rajasthan. He explains the entire case, knowing that the DGP, Rastogi, won't help them. Bhupendra agrees to assist with the investigation. Meanwhile, Rastogi, having learned of Compounder's kidnapping, tips off Bassie. In response, Bassie contacts his hired thugs from a local gang in Haryana and gives them all the details about Compounder's whereabouts. Before Pandy and Bhupendra can get to the location where Compounder is being held, Bassie's men arrive first. They brutally beat Compounder and take him away. By the time Pandy and Bhupendra reach the site, it's too late. Compounder is gone, and all Pandy finds is an empty room. Furious, Pandy turns to Puddock, demanding to know where he was when Bassie's men took Compounder. Puddock admits that he had left for lunch, during which time the thugs had come and taken Compounder. Enraged, Pandy beats Puddock for his carelessness, but Bhupendra remains calm. He reminds Pandy that they still have Prem in custody, and they can interrogate him without interference from the DGP. That night, they bring Prem into the police station, determined to uncover the truth. As soon as Prem enters, he immediately walks up to Pandy G and says, "Forgive me. I didn't know she was your daughter. or I would have never thought of kidnapping her." With that, Prem sets the stage clearly, stating, "You have only half an hour for questioning. It's already 7:30, and by 8 o'clock, I have to watch my favorite show, KBC." Without wasting any more time, Pandiji asks Prem about Chunki's whereabouts. Prem casually replies, "She's not missing. I killed her." Prem begins to unravel the entire story, revealing that he had been in love with Chunki. However, Chunki never liked him because he was merely a servant at Bassi's house, whereas Chunki worked as a prostitute and was frequently seen visiting Bassi's place. One day, when Bassi wasn't home, Prem called Chunki to his house, luring her with money. But she threw the money back at his face, calling him a lowly servant and adding a few other insults that struck a nerve. In a fit of rage, Prem murdered her. Pandiji, thinking that Prem sold Chunki's organs after killing her, inquires, "Did you sell her organs?" Prem, shocked, replies, "No, I loved her. How could I sell her organs? I sold the organs of everyone else, but not hers." He then explains his horrifying process. He would kidnap children, kill them brutally, remove their organs, dismember their bodies, and either bury the parts or dump them in the sewer. Prem even tells Pandiji that this all began because of his uncle, who used to abuse him. One day, he killed his uncle, chopped him into pieces, and even ate his flesh. Since then, Prem had become obsessed with human flesh, needing a new body every 4 to 5 months. Prem confesses that he has killed about 25 children to date. The police take Prem to the burial site where he claims to have hidden the bodies. However, when they don't find anything, Prem starts digging himself and uncovers several skeletons. Shocked by this discovery, the police also retrieve multiple body parts from the sewer, initially thinking they had drifted from elsewhere. But it turns out Prem had dumped them all into the water. Due to these revelations, Bassi is also arrested. A committee is formed to investigate Bassi, headed by Rastogi, who happens to be one of Bassi's men. Because of this, Bassi is let off with a clean chit. Rastogi even goes on record in front of the media, saying, "Prem is responsible for all of this, and Bassi has nothing to do with these crimes." Pandiji, watching this news, is furious, knowing that Bassi is involved. He immediately contacts Bhupendra and informs him that he wants to meet Prem again. The next day, Pandiji meets Prem, aiming to gather evidence that Bassi was involved too. During their conversation, Pandiji learns that Prem has recently become a father for the second time. He asks, "How do you take care of your family?" Prem reveals that a compounder named Kotello regularly sends money to his family. However, Pandiji informs Prem that Kotello has been killed by Bassi's men, and the blame has been placed on Prem, meaning Prem will now go to jail alone. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Prem confesses everything to Pandiji, which sets the stage for the next part of the story. That night, Pandiji decides to visit Prem's village and consults Puduk before leaving. He borrows a laptop from Puduk and heads to the village the next day. Upon arrival, Pandiji meets Prem's wife and requests an old cassette labeled Sada Bahar Terrain, which contains hidden information. It turns out Bassi used to secretly film his obscene activities with girls, and one of those tapes ended up with Prem, who had sent it to his wife for safekeeping. Now that Pandiji has the tape, it can serve as evidence to prove that Bassi is also guilty and should be sent to jail. As Pandiji returns from the village, he faces a problem. He can't find a bus. Just then, a car stops and Pandiji hitches a ride. However, during the conversation, Pandiji realizes that the men in the car are Bassi's goons, who had been looking for him all along. Without hesitation, they brutally murder Pandiji, all for that cassette. In the end, it is revealed that Puduk might have betrayed Pandiji, as he is now the sub-inspector of the same police station. The film concludes with a missing poster of Ramcharan Pandey on the wall of the police station. In the final moments, a constable named Bishnoi receives a courier containing a new cassette labeled Sada Bahar Terrain, indicating that many more secrets are yet to be uncovered. And with this, the movie ends, leaving the audience with an ominous sense that the story is far from over. Sector 36 delivers a nerve-wracking ride into the dark underbelly of society, where the line between predator and protector blurs. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more intense movie recaps and thrilling stories.